week on the anti-inflammatory diet. If you have any questions, I'll take questions at the end or during, it doesn't matter. So as you see on this lovely picture, see all the bright, beautiful colors, right? This promotes the anti-inflammatory diet, as opposed to this picture, which I need to tell a story about. So last spring, my daughter and I went on a missions trip to Guatemala, and we were there for Palm Sunday. And in Guatemala City, they have a very big, elaborate parade for Palm Sunday. Thousands of people go. So there was 30 of us, and we had to get there early in order to get a good viewing spot, a parking spot and a viewing spot of the parade. So we get to Guatemala City at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and everybody's hungry. And so the only thing that was open was McDonald's. So my daughter looks at me and says, "Mommy, don't worry, they have oatmeal." Because she knows I'm not a fan of McDonald's. So I try to be a good sport, and so I walk in with the group, and I look up, and the first thing I see is this on the menu, on the board. It says Nuevo, new, McWrap Americano. So this is what we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet, okay? It's fast food, it's processed food, and this is a main reason why there's an obesity and type 2 diabetes epidemic in this country, in addition to our sedentary lifestyle. So this was just shocking to me, but on the other hand, it wasn't surprising, unfortunately. So Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine," and the more I study, the more I know this to be true. Let me give you a little bit of history. In the 1980s, heart disease surpassed cancer as the #1 cause of mortality in this country. Okay? So what happened was researchers, scientists, physicians, they got together and they said it's due to fat in the diet. So what did we see on the shelves? Low fat, non-fat, 0% fat. What did they replace the fat with?
Sugar.
Sugar, exactly, exactly. And sugar causes inflammation, and inflammation causes heart disease. We know now that inflammation causes heart disease, not just fat and plaques, etc. Diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, cancer, namely lung and breast, and other chronic illnesses. There's a lot of inflammatory illnesses: asthma, celiac, rheumatoid arthritis, and aging. But wait. Like my astute husband and colleague said to me, "Melissa, don't we need sugar?" And he's absolutely right. Sugar is the main fuel source for our body. Absolutely. However, I want to teach you the right kind of sugars, okay? It's all about the glycemic index. Let me explain this to you. The glycemic index is the rate at which sugar gets into our bloodstream, okay? And the faster it gets into our bloodstream, that's the higher insulin spike you'll see. And that insulin spike is what causes inflammation, okay? So there's a glycemic index, which is very helpful, and I'm hoping in the future that these numbers will be on food labels. They aren't currently. So if I just took just table sugar, like a teaspoon, and ate it, right? That would be a glycemic index of 100, okay? So that's the standard that they use this score on. We're going to say bad carbs are a high glycemic index greater than 70, and more healthier carbs that don't cause that inflammatory response are less than 55. So where do you think white bread is?
I'd say 100.
High, yeah, I think it's like 74 or something like that. So what happens to our grain in this country is it gets pulverized, and as a result, you know, it gets refined, and so it loses its fiber. And so it gets into our bloodstream fast, just like white bread. I think they're both 71, they rank. Now in Canada, in order for that label to say wheat bread, 70% needs to be from whole grain wheat. But in our country, I don't think we have any of those rules that I know of, unfortunately. So a tip for you guys when reading labels is, because it's very confusing, and wheat bread doesn't necessarily mean it's the whole grain. of wheat. If per serving size it's greater than 3 grams of fiber, then it has a good proportion of the whole grain. That's what we want. We want whole grain bread. You have to read the label. Look for the serving size greater than or equal to 3 grams of fiber. So you want the whole grain. You don't want it pulverized and refined. You want the whole. Cracked grain is very good, okay, because it's just cracked. They're not pulverizing it. Where is an apple?
Well, so you want to hope it's over there.
Probably, huh?
Is there a medium?
No, it's not.
Well, for this little quiz, it's either high or low. But they're medium, sure.
It's gotta be. I don't think it's high.
Okay,
It's a healthy sugar.
let's see. So it's low, but you guys are right, it's sugar. But it has fiber. So fiber helps with the glycemic index, with that inflammatory response, okay? How about a Snickers bar? Off the charts? Everybody agree with that?
Oh, but it has nuts in it.
Oh, it has nuts.
Ah, you guys got it right. Okay, so omega-3s. So these are very anti-inflammatory. So now we're moving on from carbs, talking about fats. So where can we get our omega-3s? So there's animal sources, fish. I gave you an acronym here, okay? It's called SMASH. S stands for salmon, very high in omega-3. M is for mackerel, so it's salmon, mackerel. A is albacore tuna. S are sardines. And H is herring. Okay, so, animal sources, eggs. However, they need to come from free-range chickens, okay? Because that's how they get the omega-3s, is from feeding off the grass. Unless the farmers feed them like flaxseed, but usually they're not. And beef as well. So you need to, if you're going to eat beef, grass-fed from grass-fed cows, right? To get the omega-3s. Now for my vegan friends that I have here, you can get omega-3s from plant sources as well. Although it's not as great as the fish sources, because you get DHA and EPA, which are the beneficial ones. Plant sources, you get what's called ALA, and some of it converts to DHA, but not as much. So avocados, nuts, walnuts are the biggest, the hardiest omega-3 nut. So if anybody likes walnuts, you're doing great. Seeds like chia and hemp. Chia comes from the mint plant, and hemp comes from the cannabis plant. So, and also olive oils, okay? Omega-3. So there are good fats, anti-inflammatory, because we want to prevent heart disease, diabetes, cancers, other inflammatory conditions. Michael Pollan is actually a journalist, and he investigated the food industry, and now he has a passion for nutrition and food and awareness and health education. So he wrote this great little book. It can take you less than an hour to read. It's called Food Rules, and he has about 40 rules in there. And I really like this one. To quote him, it says, "Eat real food, mostly plants, and not too much." So I think if we do that, it's intuitive that we would be healthier and not have so much obesity and live better. Another rule he has, which I like, is always eat at a table, and a desk is not considered a table. So that's kind of a hard one to live by, but I just have to remember that. So I want to focus on plant-based proteins, nuts, seeds, and grains like quinoa. You guys like quinoa? The new super grain is frike, if I'm even pronouncing that right. Okay, legumes, beans like chickpeas, hummus, of course. Soy. Now, when I promote soy, I have to say a little disclaimer here, of course. I don't mean processed soy. I don't mean soy burgers. I don't mean soy dogs. I mean whole, non-GMO soy. That's a whole other lecture as far as GMOs, but whole soy. So what's whole soy? Edamame, which are the soybeans, tofu or tempeh. These are some examples. Tempeh is just fermented tofu. Soy milk. Someone asked me last time, what about soy milk? That's a good whole soy, yes. Veggies. We can get proteins in our veggies. For example, mushrooms, especially the Asian mushrooms like shiitake and maitake, if I'm saying that right. Sweet potatoes and broccoli. Okay, so anti-inflammatory, we talked about the carbs, we talked about the fats, and the proteins. Now this is a little subcategory, phytonutrients. So phyto just means plants. So nutrients that come from plants. You guys know this. You want colorful fruits and veggies, like the first slide, right? Berries, like we're serving tonight, a lot of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. Tomatoes have lycopene, which is a really, really potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. Orange and yellow fruits, of course you're getting your beta-carotenes as well. It's anti-inflammatory. And dark leafy greens. Of course you guys know kale and spinach. You know, spinach has all your amino acids in it. It's a great leafy green, plus it's an anti-inflammatory. Herbs and spices, okay. Turmeric, ginger as well, anti-inflammatory. So tea, white, green, or oolong. I know an oncologist, he recommends all of his patients drink green tea all day long. Decaf, because green tea still has some caffeine in it. So it's because green tea is anti-cancer, anti-proliferative, like it doesn't let the bad cells keep growing. Anti-inflammatory, anyway. So they're the teas to pick. Alcohol, of course you guys know this, red wine. However, I do need to say that for women, it's recommended only 1 glass per day, men 2 glasses. So, because if you overdo it, then it can be toxic, of course, the liver, etc. Heart. Okay, chocolate. Only if it's dark and greater than 70% cocoa, because if it's not greater than or equal to 70%, because then it's loaded with sugar and cocoa butter. So you want to, if you're wishing for chocolate, get the dark chocolate and get greater than 70%, and you'll get the anti-inflammatory effect. Of course, that's in moderation as well, not the whole box. So, this is what I call the 4 to 5 o'clock hunger hour. Let me explain this hour to you. So, you guys probably know it, but in my house, it's like, you know, the kids are home from school, and they're hungry, and you're hungry, and you don't know what you're cooking for dinner, and everything's going on. My suggestion is, okay, you get a little bread plate, and you pour olive oil, a lot of olive oil, because that's your good fat, right? Then you get a whopping tablespoon of hummus. That's your good protein. And then you get the grainiest bread, the whole grain bread, rye or pumpernickel, as you'll see, is also good, low glycemic, right? And you dip that in. That you're getting all your anti-inflammatory food groups. And then to top it off, if you want green tea or a glass of red wine, then that hunger hour turns into your happy hour.
Ah, there you go.